Welcome, everyone. I'm here with one of my favorite people. We may just really have a lot of fun, and I hope you're along for the ride. We're going to have a conversation about venture investing, but this is going to be a different kind of conversation than you've heard before. We're going to talk about wealth and power of women and how we can actually change some of these old paradigms and the numbers for good. Mandy and I are done playing small, having that same conversation we've had in the past. So I want to give you a little bit of context. I'm Julie Castor Abrams, and I'm the CEO of How Women Lead and the general partner for How Women Invest. My friend Mandy is really the star of this show today. You're going to hear from her. She's been right alongside with me building our impact and venture from day one. And so let me give you a little bit of context here. In 2010, there were only 12 women-run venture firms. By 2020, there were almost 300. So we've had a transformation in the market of who's running venture firms in the United States. And I want to give you some context about why that is. In many ways, and I want you to think about yourself. I'm in my 50s. We're the first generation of women who have power, wealth, influence, and 30 years of work experience. Women who are so in many ways, this is sort of a new opportunity, a new moment in time for women, but it's rapidly shifting. We've also seen an explosion of women unicorns, huge financial opportunities for all of us to get in the game and set the companies for tomorrow, where our kids are going to work and where we all are going to, want to see the products and services and solutions that we need to see in the world. Today, those women, all of us that I just described, we have 52% of the wealth. This has never happened before. This is game changing. And by 2030, with this generational transfer of wealth that we're already seeing happen, American women are expected to manage at least $30 trillion of wealth, 62% of the wealth in the United States. This is a huge opportunity for all of us. And there's a huge opportunity, but there's also some problems in the system. Women founders are great performers. They return 34% more for their investors, and Black women return the most of anyone. There's no surprise why. If you know anything about, you just think about yourself if you're a woman, right? You got to be better. You got to work twice as hard. You got to have, and if you're Black, you have to 10x it. Women who are running venture firms, these 300 women run firms, are the highest performers in all of venture. So if you watch the news, you probably hear about some of these large male run venture firms, but 73% of the top performers in venture firms are run by women and people of color, people who are new entrants to the venture world. And so we have this huge opportunity, this massive transformation. And yet last year, there was a decrease in funding going to companies founded by women, even male-female teams. So women only got 1.8% of all of the venture funding in the country. 80% of all venture dollars went to companies founded solely by men. So we're not marrying the performance and the data with our behavior. And this is the change we need to see. And with women having this kind of money, we can actually demand change, demand performance, and make it a different day. So, all right. So that's sort of a lot of data. Sorry, I'm kind of a data nerd, but I wanted to ground you all in sort of why this moment is fascinating and really a moment of change. And I cannot tell you how happy I am to be here with Mandy Bynum. And this session we're doing today is really in part fueled by and sponsored in partnership with the NASDAQ Foundation. We want to inspire and educate women on investing. We want to provide resources and tools so that it will support your investing journey. And we have LinkedIn Lives like today, but we also have podcasts you can watch, blog posts, and other content. We have training programs. We want you to feel like you get all the things that you need to have your sea legs about you so you can really get in this game. It's a power play. It changes how people think about you in your own day-to-day company and business. And with that, I'm really happy to be here with Mandy, my friend, who is an advisor, a board member, an investor, Mandy Bynum, and she's LP in our venture fund at How Women Invest. She is one of those fierce champions. She tells it like it is. I love partnering with you, Mandy. She champions women in the corporate and in the investing spaces. and continues to advocate for women founders and funders, well, all day long. So, Mandy, thanks for coming today. And you live this credo that we have at How Women Lead. Would you be willing to share the credo?
I would, of course. And before that, thank you. Yes, we're gonna have some fun today. Thank you for having me. And yes, we are being fierce advocates of each other. We say yes to helping and connecting each other. If she asks for an introduction, make your first reaction yes. Men are better at this than women. Yes, indeed we are. We ask you to reinforce her voice. When she speaks up and isn't heard, be her megaphone and ensure she gets credit. And maybe, most important, you you get out there and be unabashedly visible. Build your LinkedIn, build your thought leadership, network as a part of your workday. I know I do. In the old days of women being invisible, they're over. Julie already said it. There's nothing indelicate about standing in your power and owning your voice, and we are going to absolutely effing do that today.
Mandy, thank you for being unabashedly visible today. And I feel like I could go through every one of those points on our credo and talk about all the ways that you've done that. But I think there's no one better to inspire women to get involved in investing in venture and even to demystify the process than talking to you. So let's just jump in. You're an LP in multiple funds. You're an investor. A limited partner is what LP stands for those of you who are listening for the first time. How did this journey begin for you? How did you get started?
Yeah, thanks for asking. The short answer is I followed my curiosity until I ended up being a limited partner. And what I mean by that is I was a part of 3 companies that went public. And while I was wondering why all these dudes were getting rich and doing all these cool deals, I was sitting back like just with my head down, collecting these payments and not knowing what to do with them. So during the panini, when we all had a little bit of extra time, I made a direct investment, which went absolutely miserably. And I was like, I'm never doing that again. Picking one company to invest money. I don't have the type of money to be investing directly in all sorts of different companies. And I wanted to learn more about how to invest in venture capital funds and what the other options were when it came to investing. So I signed up for a Stanford Continuing Studies course. I saw that this one course about early stage investing was taught by a woman. I was like, sign me up. And that woman happens to be SC Mawadi, who's the general partner of Mighty Capital, an amazing French woman, freaking badass. And the thing that she would say at the beginning of every class is like, you need to get here 20 minutes early and just start networking because venture capital is all about networking. And so throughout that class, and as I saw the patterns that come with venture capital and the patterns that we're creating and the state of venture that we were in, I was like, this is just not for me. But I had the confidence at that point to be like, I know that I can be a limited partner. And with the new definitions of what an accredited investor could be that came out in 2020, I was like, I got that money. I can do that. And so as SC said, I reached out to that group and said, I want to invest in a women-led fund. I want to invest a women-led fund that's investing in women. And I want to like the people who I'm investing in. And someone pinged me back. This is literally over the Zoom chat, pinged me back a link to your fund call that was the next day. And as soon as I popped on that Zoom, I think Julie's heard the story so many times, I saw the full screen full of tiles of all different melanated women who were all badasses. Every time I was looking up their LinkedIn, I was like, oh my God, oh my God. Ah! I was like, I have to be a part of this. And the minimum investment was 25K. And I was like, I think I can do that. I can do that. I'm accredited. I have the confidence to do that. And that's where it all began. And since then, I know we're going to talk about this later, but that's how it began.
So I just want everybody to take a deep breath and sort of really think about what Mandy just said. She took the initiative and started learning and took the class, let's say, and showed up 20 minutes early for class. So you took the initiative. And then the ecosystem, somebody said, look at how women invest. And this is how we build this whole movement is you
Right.
stepping out and making it happen and also introducing other people. The other thing is when you find a place where you are aligned with their values and you feel seen, you feel like you fit, you feel like there are people like you, it changes everything. I don't know about you, Mandy, but I've been to so many of these places, these venture things, and it's all this bro talk. And I'm just like, I feel so uncomfortable here. Get me out of here. You know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't even go anymore. I'm like,
Yeah, I
I
can't
don't
do
have
it.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah,
There's
my
too many
nervous.
women out here
Yeah.
throwing already badass events, I can go to those instead.
Yeah, exactly. So, for everybody listening, I just want you to think about for yourself where you fit into this. What are the values that are most important to you, and what do you need to experience to feel that confident? So, do you have anything else you want to share about how you chose the funds? Now, venture funds, somebody else runs that's an expert is evaluating the companies, finding them, negotiating the financial terms and the legal agreements. So it's not like what you started with, which a lot of us did, myself included, a direct investment, which is often called an angel investment. It sounds wonderful to be called an angel, but most people don't make money as angel investors. Venture firms have a professional team that's managing it for you. Anything else about how you chose the funds that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, I will say just quickly, the short way of explaining being a limited partner for me versus directly investing is you get all the credit and don't have many of the responsibilities of of picking.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. Oh, it's so great. So
Yeah.
great. The way that I chose the funds following how I'm going to invest, I continued to narrow my values. So I started with how I'm going to invest. And through this experience, I've started to learn more about myself as you do in any relationship, because we as humans are simply just mirrors of each other. And so as I got deeper into how I'm going to invest, I was like, okay, my next fund, I want it to be a Black woman. So I started answering emails that were coming to me because your ecosystem begets a bigger ecosystem. So as people start to know that you're an investor, they're going to start reaching out to you, and your inbox will become full of other funds who are fundraising. And so having had experience building a sales team in Atlanta while living in California, I knew how overshadowed Atlanta was as a tech hub. And so when I found someone who was raising a fund specifically in the Southeast, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I want to invest in this. Not only because, and what I'm getting to and how I found these, I was looking for things that were different, that would entice my curiosity and that would expand my own ecosystem. So being able to have another connection to Atlanta, to that hub, to things that I was curious about in this very blue bubble inside of a red state, there were so many different factors, but very little of it had to do with the financials, although that was huge. They were secure. It was more about what was I going to learn? What was this investor going to give me exposure to that I didn't have exposure to already?
All right. Excellent. Just so everybody knows, you said the word accredited investor, and I want to make sure that everybody who's listening knows what that definition is. You don't go get accredited by anyone. It's like Mandy said, oh, I have enough money to be called an accredited investor. The SEC asks you to self attest that you made $200,000 a year for the last 2 years, or as a household, 300,000, or you've got $1 million outside of your primary residence in assets. So if you have any question about whether or not you're accredited, that's literally, if you meet any of those three things, you are. There's a couple other options for people. We'll talk about it another, or you can email me and I can tell you more about it if you are not yet accredited. And nobody accredits you. You don't fill out forms. You just have to self-attest that you meet that standard. But Mandy, Mandy's not the usual person. She's saying, "Oh yeah, and I let somebody else, do the work." Mandy's so involved. Mandy, you have taken a board seat in one of our portfolio companies. Can you talk a little bit about that role and other opportunities you found through venture investing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've told Julie this so many times. Becoming a limited partner completely changed my career. For those who are watching, it completely changed my career. The number of opportunities I was exposed to, the number of ways I could further my own experience in getting board seats, it expanded exponentially when I started investing. And this is why I tell people, when you are investing in venture capital, you are also investing in yourself. So as an investor and being able to be a part of the choosing of companies, you also get to represent the fund on those company boards. And this particular company, I got along great with the founder. What they were looking for matched exactly with my experience of building sales teams, but also having experience in HR as a head of DEI and being on the buy side of the product of the platform that Charlotte was building. And so being a part of the board has been an amazing experience for several reasons. One, we have a smaller part on the cap table, how I'm going to invest. So I get to represent us in a lot of different ways in the same high loud voice that the other investors do and get my hands dirty in some of the issues that they're working with. And it reminds me, as not being in the corporate space or as an operator currently right now at a startup company, it keeps me in the loop to what a lot of the issues are and the way that things are changing for platforms these days.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I can just say you've been an extraordinary board representative for us. Of course, in your responsible, disciplined, and way that you've interfaced with the fund and been a steward of that relationship, but you also have added extraordinary value for that founder and helped her with strategic pivots of the company. She couldn't have had a better advisor than you. So I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm not asking for a seat at the table. My friends, this is the first generation of us. We have a huge opportunity. We have power and influence and wealth. And we can start building the tables where we get the prime seats. Today, we want to invite you to join us as investors in venture. I know no one's asked you to do it before. It might be something that seems scary or foreign, but I promise you it's not that different than investing in a mutual fund where your retirement funds are. I want you to lean in and just learn a little bit more. How about making a commitment that in the next 12 months, you can give yourself 12 months to figure it out and to take a step? I want to invite you to be part of the new table of power and influence and wealth. You're invited. I want to sit at the table with you because we're going to make big change. We're going to make the world we've been dreaming of. As you can tell, at least in how we do it in our fund, you can choose to invest money and not pay attention to it until you get your money back and then make money, or you can get very involved in looking at the deals that we're evaluating, joining those calls and asking questions of the founders. You can help with diligence. You can help, be involved in lots of ways. And Mandy, you've been you've been the great example of someone doing all of that. The other thing that you've done is you've also taken on a really important leadership role in venture as a senior advisor for VCs for reproductive justice, right? So could you talk a little bit about that and how that came about and why that's important to you?
Yeah. After investing with How Women Invest, not after, but during this time, I ended up leading two different nonprofits, both of which were in the social justice realm. I've always considered myself a social justice warrior. And I was also one of those people who had my head up my butt in thinking that the Dobbs decision would never overturn Roe v. Wade.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
So when it happened, and Jana Meyerowitz Turner is a good friend of mine and also helped me with a lot of my personal brand alignment. She's a PR genius. She invited me to some of these calls that she called briefings around what was happening with abortion rights, what was going on in each of the states, and how it was impacting our ability to innovate. So VCs for Repro is a coalition of venture capital firms that are united to support access to abortion. And we have over 125 VC firms managing over 112 billion in assets under management, rallied around the shared sentiment that criminalizing abortion violates human rights and is therefore anti-innovation. This matters to the people investing in the future of our economy, so we vote like it matters to us. And so my role with VCs for Repro is super similar to what I do with a lot of the organizations I work with or am on the boards of, which is to bring what is currently a movement, a product, a coalition, a program that's already making a huge impact to a place of operational stability. In other words, this coalition is leader Jana Meyerowitz Turner. It's completely unpaid volunteer work. And for the value that this organization is bringing to the venture capital community and how we're changing the narrative around abortion, and how often we say it and how it impacts reproductive rights and the type of conversation we've been able to start over the last 2 years is valuable and should be paid and financially supported. So I'm helping the organization beef that up and create a foundation that will enable us to do that so we can sustain this work.
Excellent. On behalf of everyone listening, thank you, thank you, thank you. We've signed on, obviously, at How Women Invest. And what's so interesting is this is such a beautiful example of how this financial structure of venture investing is absolutely connected to all the most important stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis. The solutions that women need, whether it's our healthcare, our reproductive rights solutions, or solutions in all kinds of other areas of our lives. Underinvesting in those solutions is a huge problem for all of us. I was speaking at a healthcare women's conference last week, as I mentioned to you just a minute ago, Mandy, with our friend Mary Stutz. And this is what's stunning. This is what somebody said on one of the panels. Mice don't menstruate. All of our testing of pharmaceuticals is on mice. And literally think about it, the hormonal cycles of menstruating females are literally like you cannot begin to have pharmaceutical solutions without thinking about those. So in so many ways, we hadn't even done testing on women up until we passed a law in the almost year 2000. So in so many,
Unless you were Black and enslaved, then there was plenty of testing
yes,
happening.
well,
But I digress.
yeah,
Continue.
with no, yeah, well, okay, we can get into all of that. Black women today have financial power, academic success is extraordinary, and can and are leading in this space.
Yep.
In fact, if you look at the highest performing venture funds in this country, many of them are run by Black women. So
Like Mary Stutz.
yeah, and so you put power into the hands of the people who previously were sort of marginalized and all kinds of other horrible things. This is the solution for the future of our country, for everyone to be safe, to be paid equitably. To me, anyway, I sound like I'm on a soapbox, but I can't think of something more important because money is power. And we can be philanthropic all we want, but if we don't start putting money into the rooms of power and making sure the companies are being started by the people we trust. So let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about values a little bit more. We already touched on it a bit. But what would you say, since you're such a values-based investor, Mandy, when somebody else is thinking about their own investing strategy, how do you think that they should think about finding a venture firm that aligns with their values?
I love this question because the answer is not always as obvious as people think, especially if we're in spaces where we're thinking externally and reactively all the time. You have to start with yourself because you are going to be investing your time, your money. And if you are investing in a fund that simply performs well or you've seen perform well, you're not really going to get much out of it. And you'll probably get frustrated, and the patterns of thought and the misogynistic messages that you're getting are just going to continue to perpetuate. And so if you want to be aligned with your values, you have to know what they are first, and then follow your curiosity. I'm super curious in Korean skincare. Do I know anything about manufacturing logistics? No. So it doesn't make sense for me to go and invest in a Korean skincare fund or a Korean beauty fund. It could make sense for me to invest in an American beauty and wellness fund, but those are the types of things you want to ask yourself. And then branch out and start building your network. Now, that doesn't mean you say yes to everything and you go to every single event, but again, follow your curiosity and your gut around what interests you, and also match those interests with the value that you think you can bring to these organizations. And the way that you find out what kind of value you bring to these organizations is by asking your network, like, hey, what do you think makes me valuable at this company? Or what do you think I do that no one else does really well? Those are the things that are going to help you decide where you're going to be the best fit. And the other thing, Julie, that I can't impart enough, if you are an accredited investor, the chances that you have a financial advisor or that you have someone else who has an opinion about your money, like my hands are shaking out of anger just thinking about it, it is not their money. It is not their money.
Yeah.
So when you want to invest in a fund and you get really excited and you pick up the phone and you call your financial advisor and you say, hey, I want to invest 50K. And they're like, just hang up the phone. Just hang up the fucking phone because they don't own your money. And that's a lot of the way that I see women get held back is by these messages. And we have to break out of those first. And then everything gets easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
I'm so glad you just said that. To me, it's a mic drop moment because this is the thing. One, they're not incentivized. If they're incentivized by their assets under management, they might be incentivized by what products they're selling.
That's right.
And when you take money out away from whatever they're selling or whatever their portfolio they're managing, they're disincentivized for you to take a power play and make money in a different asset class. So you need to know what their incentives are when you have a financial advisor. And they also may be scared themselves. Have they ever invested in venture?
Probably not.
And do they, can they rattle off, like you and I just did, all the data about the return on investment? So thank you for saying that. What a powerful statement. We're almost out of time, Mandy. We've talked about how there's a lot of different, there's up to 300 women run funds. You talked about how to get clear about their core values to get through the noise for anybody who's listening. If you can give people one tip on how to begin exploring investing, what would that be?
This is the one question I didn't have a short answer for. If you're watching this, you're already on the right track.
Right.
Honestly, if you follow someone like me on LinkedIn, continue to follow me. I talk about this stuff all the time. I talk about the mistakes that I've made. I've talked about how I align with my own values. Follow people like Julie who are all over the earth talking about this topic every other week and find out where we're going
Yeah.
and go to those places. No matter where you are, there's something on Zoom, there is something in your local community, in your local metro, something around venture. And my girl, ChatGPT, is really helpful too.
Yeah.
She can also help point you in the right direction or at least give you a path to start on. So just start somewhere. My intuitive guide always tells me start smart, start small, start now. You're not going to write your first check tomorrow, and you have to get used to saying no. You're going to say no a lot more than you're going to say yes. And that's always the hardest thing for us to do because we are women. We have the capacity to do so many things, but we have to say no to a lot.
I love that. And start now. And I'll just remind everyone, people will say to me, "Oh, I think I need to take a lot of classes or go
No.
get an MBA." No, because the person running the venture firm already does that. If you're investing in a mutual fund, you can invest in a venture fund. It's a different asset class and it's different structures in terms of how long the money is in a venture fund. It's locked up until the companies have exits, but ultimately you will likely make a lot more money.
But wait, Julie, hold on one second.
Yes.
What did you do before you ran
I
this venture fund?
Well, I ran a type of a bank and did micro loans for women entrepreneurs over 6,000. So, yeah, I've been doing this for
You're a social worker. You do social stuff.
Yes,
You,
right. Well, I'm a social worker by training in social justice, and I work with low income women to start their own businesses over 6,000. So, yeah, I'm a values gal, and so, I think also, like, I meet people and women sometimes that don't have as the integrity and are not gonna be aligned with taking care of other people. I may not be perfect, but every minute of my day is all about integrity and doing what I say we're gonna do and doing it with and for the women that are investors and founders in our firms. So,
yeah. I asked you that because a lot of people don't think they belong here in this industry. And we
Mhm.
come from so many different backgrounds.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mandy. You're so fierce. You're so fun. And God, if you ever get to hang out and play in the sandbox with Mandy, we got to go to Cuba together. Life fun with Mandy. And so every month we have founders, venture investors, and venture capitalists come together to talk about fintech, edtech, medtech, whatever the kind of investing strategies are. So if you want to start to really meet and learn about the venture landscape at How Women Lead, you can find all of these opportunities. Our power, wealth, and influence is honestly at its zenith as women. It's our moment. We've got to step into this. And How Women Invest is such a powerful game changer. We're the only fund I know of that only funds companies founded by women. And I'm so happy that the NASDAQ Foundation has partnered with How Women Lead and is really making sure that all of you know about investing and how to get started in whatever asset class that is. So step out, my friends. And as Mandy says, start now. Can start small, but start now. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, Freddie.